When you think of the modern day NFL running backs, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Well, let me help you with that answer. Today's running backs are agile, complementary to the passing game, and help bail out the offense on third down conversions with screens or draw plays. Of course, you have your exceptions to the rule, like Derrick Henry, Chuba Hubbard, and Saquon Barkley, who run hard and violent to help out the passing game, but that wasn't always the case. Running backs used to run hard and run over anyone who got in their way, including their own linemen. Today, we highlight the top 8 running backs who were the most vicious to play their position, and there's no better way to start off our countdown with the current day rushing king. Coming in at number 8 is King Henry himself, Derrick Henry. There is no surprise that Derrick Henry made our list as one of the most vicious running backs to ever play in the NFL. Just look at the size of him. The NFL's current rushing leader stands at 6 foot 2 inches tall and a staggering 247 pounds, and he is an absolute freak of nature at just 30 years old. Henry's physical presence running between the tackles is sure to cause pain to opposing Mike linebackers. And the Sam and Will linebackers, as well as defensive backs, are not safe outside of the tackle box either. His signature stiff arm has become a defining aspect of his playing style. Just look at this clip against Josh Norman and the Buffalo Bills. Derrick Henry made a viral meme of Josh Norman, and you would think other NFL defensive players would figure it out to not tackle Derrick Henry high, right? Well, you'd be wrong. Time after time, defenses tried to test Henry, and he would prove them unworthy of his powerful and aggressive running ability. Just look at his 2020 season when Henry led the league in yards after contact at 1,073 yards and recorded 34 broken tackles. Of course, with all of that pounding and brutal rushing yards over the years, you think that would have slowed him down. But actually, Henry is on pace to be the rushing leader again in 2024 and surpass 2,000 rushing yards in a single season as a 30-year-old running back. That kind of stat is unheard of, and he's still punishing defenses as the #1 powerhouse in the league. King Henry has certainly made powerful and vicious running backs cool again. But we will have to see who will take over as the new vicious running back king once Henry decides to call it a career. Coming in at number 7 on our vicious running back list, we are going to throw it back to the good old days of the 1970s. This next running back was so vicious that his face mask even looked like he had a bull nose ring on his helmet. At number 7 is that badass SOB, Larry Csonka. When you think of hard-nosed football, the name Larry Csonka should be the first person you think of. His trademark running style, the forearm to the face mask of his opponents, lowering his head to give maximum pain and fear of the defense. He's the guy you didn't want to face off against in practice if you were doing a hitting drill. For all of you current and former football players, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Larry Csonka had a similar body frame as Derrick Henry. With a height of 6 feet 3 inches and a playing weight of 237 pounds, his physical presence was more like a human bowling ball rolling down the field trying to pick up spares as he was gaining speed. His dominance on the field with that powerful forearm and stiff arm allowed him to earn the single season rushing title in 1972 with 1,117 yards. This is the same year that the Dolphins went undefeated and won the Super Bowl. You would rarely see only one person take down Larry Csonka. It usually took half of the defense just to stop his momentum and the other half just to get him down. And that's after he's already picked up at least 4 or 5 yards. His power mixed with his speed and determination to run over everyone on the field was a dangerous but effective combination, and there's no question he made football fun to watch back in the day. And number 6 is a guy who needs no introduction. I'll give you just 2 words and you will immediately figure out who made it to number 6 on the list. Bucs fullback. If you don't know who it is still, then I recommend you take a PTO day from work and binge watch this guy's highlight reel. We're talking about Mike Alstott from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who is arguably the most powerful and destructive fullback in NFL history. Nicknamed the A-Train, Mike Alstott was just a freak of nature. Seriously, someone needs to examine how a guy who is 6 foot 1 inch tall and weighs 248 pounds can run so hard and so fast while having such agility as Mike Alstott did. Alstott's physicality and vicious running ability allowed him to dominate defenders. Remember when I said other players would be scared to be on the opposite side of the ball during practice and Oklahoma drills? Well, There is no question that the same feeling was had with Mike Alstott. Throughout his 12-year career with the Bucs, he rushed for 5,088 yards and 58 touchdowns, averaging 3.7 yards a carry. If the Bucs had a 3rd and short situation, there was no doubt the ball was going to Alstott to get the first down. It was almost as automatic as today's Eagles tush push, but Alstott's physicality didn't end there. He also accounted for 2,284 receiving yards and 13 receiving touchdowns. And when he caught the ball in open field, my goodness, it was like a freight train going 100 miles per hour, hence the nickname A-Train. But that wasn't the worst part of it all. No. What made him stand out as one of the most vicious running backs in history was his eyes, his goatee, the oversized shoulder pads, and of course that infamous neck roll. Alstott's impact was critical to the Bucs' Super Bowl 37 victory, where he scored the franchise's very first Super Bowl touchdown. His 6 Pro Bowls and 3 All-Pro selections prove his worth as one of the best and last significant fullbacks in the NFL. We're now entering the top 5 of our list, and the running back in the number 5 spot is number 1 in our hearts. From his time at Cal to his incredible media career after his retirement, Marshawn Lynch has been stealing the show, both on and off the field. Off the field, he's a funny, charismatic, and dare I say likable guy. But on the field, he was an absolute terror. Nicknamed Beast Mode, Lynch is known for his powerful running style and amazing talent for breaking tackles. Smaller than most of the running backs on our list, Lynch was a 5'11" powerhouse whose small and compact frame made him difficult to take down. You can say that his 10,413 rushing yards and 85 touchdowns is impressive, but what's even more remarkable is his postseason performance, where he rushed for 970 yards and 12 rushing touchdowns. I think we all know that he should actually have had 13 postseason touchdowns if it wasn't for that wild call to pass the ball on the goal line against the Patriots. Yeah, he will forever be linked to that major Super Bowl moment, but this other run known as the Beastquake will forever cement his legacy as one of the nastiest running backs in the history of the NFL. His 67-yard scamper with this amazing stiff arm and broken tackles against the Saints in the 2010 wildcard playoff game has to be the most vicious run witnessed in the modern era of professional football.
Dancing his way for the touchdown!
At number 4, we have that running back whose ego and swagger was backed up by his powerful running ability. Coming in at number 4 is John Riggins. Nicknamed the Diesel, Riggins took his time wearing down defenses with his aggressive running style and terrorizing hard-hitting ability. The workhorse, standing at 6 foot 2 inches and 230 pounds, was a great compliment to Joe Namath during his time playing for the Jets. During his time in New York, he shared the spotlight with famous Joe Namath, but he knew he needed to carry the ball more in order to be the star of the Jets. This alleged beef with Namath is what drove John Riggins to an early retirement. It wasn't until the 1980s and a young offensive mastermind coach named Joe Gibbs that actually traveled to John Riggins' home and pretty much begged him to join the Redskins. And boy, did he put on a show for Washington. Over his 14-year career with New York and Washington, Riggins rushed for 11,352 yards and 104 touchdowns, averaging 3.9 yards per carry. His most notable run was in Super Bowl 17 against the Dolphins, sealing the championship with a fourth-quarter scamper to the end zone that sealed the Super Bowl victory, the MVP, and his legacy as one of the toughest running backs in NFL history. At number 3 is Pittsburgh's favorite bus, the bus, Jerome Bettis. Over his 13-year career with the Steelers and Rams, he averaged 3.9 yards per carry and over 13,000 yards. But those numbers don't do justice to what Bettis was able to display on the football field. Famously nicknamed the Bus, Bettis was one of the largest and most feared running backs during his era. The Bus was built more like a lineman than a running back. Looking at some of his highlights, you can see that he was just as big as some of his offensive linemen, but his blend of size, low center of gravity, and nimbleness proved to be a powerful combination and made him an exceptional ball carrier. The Bus was a bona fide downhill runner, meaning if he broke through the line of scrimmage and got to the second layer of the defense at top speed, it was pretty hard to bring him down with his weight and momentum. Very similar to Csonka and Riggins, Bettis loved to plow through defenders rather than avoiding them. His punishing style of running wore down defenses, and as his number of carries increased throughout the game, the better he ran. This play in the snow against the Bears in 2005 is a perfect example of Bettis' power running ability. Bettis' aggressive running earned him the love of the fans and the respect of his peers. Coming in at number 2 on the list is one of the best players, not just running backs, players, to ever play professional football. The icon himself, Jim Brown. Jim Brown of the Cleveland Browns was a hard-nosed and scrappy football player. And, well, he kind of had to, given all of the adversity he had both on and off the field. In a time when the NFL was 11 years removed from reintegrating African American players into the NFL, Jim Brown had to prove himself every play of the game. He was the embodiment of power, aggression, and dominance on the football field. In the 1950s and early 60s, Jim Brown revolutionized the running back position with his combination of size, speed, and strength that was really never seen before in the NFL. Standing at 6 foot 2 inches and 232 pounds, Brown powered through every defense he faced and broke so many tackles that he rightfully earned the name First Down Brown. His stamina and mental toughness were unmatched as he carried the defense for what seemed to be forever during his runs. Jim Brown had the mentality of never being outworked, which often made him run the ball with ferociousness. And to say that Jim Brown was the best and most powerful player on the field is an understatement. In his 9 years of playing for the Cleveland Browns, he led the league in rushing yards 8 times and was the league MVP 3 times, the most by any NFL running back in history. Brown's aggressive and punishing running style, combined with his statistical dominance, set a standard for power running backs that remains unmatched even in the Derrick Henry era we have today. Jim Brown remains the gold standard for powerful and vicious running in football history. Before we reveal the number 1 most vicious running back on our list, we have to give some recognition for some of the legendary and Hall of Fame running backs that were so close to making our top 8 list. These honorable mentions ran hard and fast and ran over defenders more often than avoiding contact and running towards the sideline to end the play. Here are our honorable mentions for most vicious running backs: Frank Gore, Walter Payton, Franco Harris, Jim Taylor, Bo Jackson, and Adrian Peterson. Frank Gore's 16,000 rushing yards over his 16 years in the league makes him one of the best running backs to ever play the game. But his running style of dragging Seahawks defenders down the field or breaking multiple tackles with sidesteps and stiff arms stayed in the hearts and minds of 49ers fans for years. Walter Payton's sweetness himself was so close to making the list. Just look at Mr. Explosion putting his head down and run through defenders and hurdle over tacklers. There's no doubt he's on top of every rushing list there is. Joe Harris's smooth but rough style of running was legendary in the 70s style of football. He was just so good at avoiding tacklers and outrunning the defense to make big plays. Jim Taylor was one of the original tough guys before the NFL merged with the AFL. On every play that he got the ball, he went looking for someone to hit. If you told him the end zone was open, he would say, "Cool, let me find a safety to hit before I get the touchdown." Now, everybody knows Bo knows football, but Bo knows hard hitting too. Bo knows that defenses feared his running style, and Bo knows he was one of the best and most vicious players on the field. Bo made everyone's highlight reel just by running over people every week. And the last honorable mention of Adrian Peterson was just as hard to leave off the list. Just look at how hard he runs every week. His speed matched up with his strength and power was a deadly combination. The crazy thing about Peterson is that his breakaway runs kind of overshadowed his powerful and vicious running ability. And finally, at number 1 of the most vicious running backs in NFL history is the legendary Earl Campbell. Campbell, better known as the Tyler Rose, is the most powerful, aggressive, and vicious running back in NFL history. With a body frame of 5'11" and 232 pounds, Campbell's running style has been widely characterized as relentless and punishing, opting to run over defenders rather than around them. Over his 8-season career with the Houston Oilers, he rushed for 9,407 yards and 74 touchdowns, averaging 4.3 yards per carry, which is fine and all. But what amazed people was his ability to bulldoze over any and everyone who got in his way. Defensive players, his own linemen, it didn't matter. He would plow through them and break tackles to do whatever it took to extend the play. His speed and ability to get through the line of scrimmage and towards the outside made it very difficult for the defense to get him down. He would either run over them or just outrun them towards the outside. Campbell's dominance was particularly noticeable during his first 3 seasons, where he led the league in rushing yards each year. earning him the NFL Offensive Player of the Year consecutively from 1978 to 1980. He was a dominant and vicious running back that left a ton of memories for Houston Oilers fans for decades. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you know the next time we drop a new video. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you next time.